Have you ever felt that suddenly the world around you began to take on a different weight, as if coincidences were whispering something directly in your ear? Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, a sign from the universe that your external journey has finally aligned with your deepest internal transformation. If you stopped at this video, it wasn't due to a glitch in the algorithm, but rather a resonance with the frequency of your soul, which now yearns for a new level of clarity and self-respect. There is a sacred moment in a woman's life when the noise of others' expectations begins to diminish, allowing the gentle voice of the self to take command of destiny. This awakening is not a noisy event, but a silent force that reorganizes your priorities and removes everything that does not vibrate at the frequency of absolute truth and consciousness. This process of inner change often begins with a feeling of estrangement from your old routine and the people who once made perfect sense in your journey. You begin to notice patterns that were previously invisible, realizing how certain manipulative behavioral dynamics tried, unsuccessfully, to undermine your integrity and natural brilliance. It's as if a veil is falling from your eyes, revealing that the pressures you accepted were merely tests to strengthen your discernment and autonomy. The universe chooses moments of reflection to show you that you no longer need external approval to validate the greatness that dwells within your spiritual center. The transition to your era of power requires you to embrace your own shadow, integrating the lessons of the past to walk with your head held high and your heart open. The experience of being a sensitive soul in a dense world often leads us to believe that our empathy is a vulnerability, but awakening reveals that it is our greatest tool. Jung believed that the individuation process was the ultimate goal of every human being, and for the conscious woman, this means reclaiming the throne of her own psyche. You are ceasing to be a spectator of your own existence to become the sovereign architect of a reality that honors your emotional maturity and your intelligence. This turning point is a rebirth that requires courage to release the anchors of guilt and resentment that once marked your journey through emotional deserts. The universe now presents you with keys to understanding that are only given to those who have crossed the fog and decided on their own to find the light of reason and spirit. Many women spend their entire lives avoiding this transformation for fear of judgment or the loneliness that the peak of consciousness sometimes seems to impose at the beginning of the ascent. However, the universe shows that this strategic isolation is, in fact, a laboratory of reconstruction where you learn to be your own safe haven and your best company. You begin to value silence not as emptiness, but as a fullness that no longer allows itself to be interrupted by superficial conversations or draining relationships. The maturing of your perspective allows you to identify the emotionally immature people who only sought to drain your vitality without offering anything in return. Upon realizing that you owe nothing to anyone but your own fidelity to the self, the portal to spiritual abundance opens wide before your feet. In this initial phase of discovery, it is crucial that you protect the seed of your newfound power with the zeal of a guardian who knows the value of her future harvest. Do not try to explain your transformation to those who lack the trained eyes to see the soul, for your current silence is your most powerful and unwavering response. The universe is clearing your path, removing invisible obstacles and the shackles of toxic experiences that have tried for so long to contain the flow of your prosperity. You are being prepared to inhabit a plane of existence where peace is the rule and self-respect is the fertile ground where your dreams will finally take deep root. The journey has only just begun, but the certainty that now dwells in your heart is proof that you will never again return to the shadows of confusion and doubt. The transition to your era of power is marked by the moment when the archetype of the sovereign awakens in your unconscious, demanding an unquestionable posture of dignity. Jung explained that archetypes are universal energies that, when integrated, give us a strength that transcends our common everyday personality. You begin to feel more firm in your decisions, ceasing to ask permission to occupy the space that is yours by divine and spiritual right. This change in posture sends a clear signal to the universe and to the people around you that the time of invading boundaries and breaking respect is over. Self-respect becomes your new law, and you discover that you don't need to shout to be heard because your presence now communicates a natural and serene authority. This is the moment to validate each step of your reconstruction, understanding that the closing of the previous cycle was the necessary fertilizer for the flourishing of your new version. The maturity you gained through uncomfortable, intimate situations gave you the X-ray vision necessary to never again accept crumbs of affection or social recognition. You now understand that your energy is sacred and that your time is the most valuable resource you possess to invest in your own liberation. If you feel that your intuition is sharper, trust this spiritual radar that now protects you from wolves disguised as lambs in your network of contacts. To continue receiving these profound guidances on your awakening and to strengthen your journey, subscribe to the channel now and become part of this community of strong women. The liberation from the need to be nice to everyone is one of the clearest signs that you are inhabiting your era of sovereign power. Many women have been taught to silence their desires for the sake of external harmony, but you now understand that true peace only exists where there is truth and integrity of soul. You have stopped carrying the weight of other people's problems, returning responsibility to those who should actually deal with it, and this has brought an immediate lightness to your days. This is the stage where you stop explaining yourself to those who have chosen not to understand you, saving your vital energy for what truly matters and builds your being. Your elevated consciousness now acts as a powerful filter that only lets through what is genuine, reciprocal, and truly nourishing for your heart. Jung stated that the greatest tragedy a human being can face is not being themselves, and you have finally decided that this tragedy will not be part of your biography from now on. The rebirth of your identity involves rescuing talents, dreams, and desires that were buried under the weight of draining relationships and toxic patterns of control and manipulation. You are discovering that your sensitivity is not a factory defect, but rather the channel through which the wisdom of the universe flows to guide you in every choice. By embracing your uniqueness, you become invincible against attempts at social comparison that previously shook your self-confidence and your perception of worth. The era of power is, above all, the mystical marriage between your conscious mind and the infinite depths of your creative and wise unconscious. Notice how synchronicities increase when you begin to consistently choose yourself without the shadow of guilt or fear of displeasing the collective. The universe conspires to bring you the right people, the right books, and the opportunities that match your new frequency of dignity and inner peace. You are no longer fighting against the tide, but rather surfing the wave of your own evolution, certain that the best is yet to come in this new phase. This psychological maturity prepares you for much deeper relationships, where the connection occurs between two whole beings and no longer between two desperate needs. The sun of your consciousness will shine so brightly that the shadows of the past will no longer have a place to anchor or hide in your radiant life. One of the great secrets the universe reveals to women in their final phase of reconstruction is that external validation is a prison that prevents the flight of the sovereign soul. You spent too much time seeking confirmation in the eyes of others that you were good, capable, and worthy of being loved, without realizing that this search kept you hostage to immature minds. Now, clarity has taken over your being, and you understand that your value is intrinsic, non-negotiable, and totally independent of what people think or say. The end of dependence on others' praise is what truly liberates you to be authentic, even if this causes temporary discomfort to those who benefited from your submission. Jung taught that psychic freedom only happens when the inner tribunal becomes the ultimate authority of our ethical and personal conduct. This social detachment brings with it a silent force that manipulators cannot overcome or break with their usual tactics of emotional control. When you no longer need to be accepted, you become dangerous to the control system because your happiness can no longer be used as a bargaining chip by anyone. The universe removes the veil of romantic and social illusions, allowing you to see the desperation of those who try to diminish you, to feel minimally superior or powerful. You now observe the human theater with a compassionate distance, but without getting involved in the dramas that previously stole your sleep and peace of mind. This autonomy is the basis of your new era of power, where you define the rules of what enters and what remains in your field of divine consciousness. The maturation of this perception leads you to select your battles with ancient wisdom, saving your energy for projects that truly have meaning for your purpose. You stopped arguing with emotionally immature people, realizing that silence is the highest response to those who lack the necessary depth to reach you spiritually. Every time you choose not to react to a provocation, you recover a fragment of your soul that was previously scattered in useless and exhausting conflicts. The universe shows you that your peace is worth more than any need to be right in front of an audience that doesn't even know your deepest truth. The reconstruction of yourself requires this rigorous pruning of everything that is superficial, noisy, and devoid of a real and edifying essence. The era of power is characterized by a calmness that frightens those who live in constant egoic agitation and seek immediate attention on social media or in empty circles. You have discovered that true influence does not come from noise, but from the consistency of your character and the clarity of your intention in every gesture. The rebirth of your will allows you to say no, with an elegance that leaves no room for negotiation or invasions of boundaries in your sacred routine. You are becoming a fortress of light, protected by an invisible barrier of self-respect that naturally repels those who seek only advantage or easy emotional gratification. Jung called this state of spiritual maturity independence from the object, where your well-being is anchored in God and your own self. Feel the vibration of freedom coursing through your veins as you realize you no longer have anything to prove to anyone in this world of fleeting and futile appearances. The universe validated your pain and now validates your healing, transforming the wounds of the past into badges of honor and maps of wisdom for other souls. You now inhabit the present with an intensity that was previously stifled by the anxiety of pleasing or avoiding rejection from dull minds. Your inner transformation is the greatest gift you could give yourself and consequently to all of humanity that benefits from your silent example. The time of shadows is over, and the light of your consciousness now guides your ship through deep, calm waters full of spiritual treasures. For Jung, enlightenment doesn't consist of imagining figures of light, but in making darkness conscious so that it no longer secretly governs our destiny. As you enter your era of power, you are invited to look at your wounds not as marks of weakness, but as the place where light finally entered your psyche. The toxic pattern you overcame served as the alchemical crucible where your lead was transmuted into the gold of higher, unwavering consciousness. You now understand that you needed to confront the impact of others' lack of empathy to discover the immensity of compassion you must first have for yourself. This healing process doesn't erase what happened, but removes the poison from memory and transforms it into a potent antidote against future manipulations and deceptions. Integrating your shadow self grants you an integrity that nice and naive people will never possess, because your kindness is now a conscious choice, not an escape from conflict. You know what you are capable of, you understand human depths, and precisely for that reason, you choose light and peace with a firmness that no one can shake or destroy. The universe shows you that true power is born from accepting our totality as human beings, with all the pain, fears, and potential that dwell within us. You have stopped projecting your gods and demons onto others, taking full responsibility for your own journey and your daily state of mind. This emotional sovereignty is what makes you immune to the blame games that previously kept you trapped in cycles of unnecessary and repetitive suffering. The maturation of this phase allows you to see the manipulative behavior of others as a limitation of theirs, and not as a flaw of yours, freeing you from burdens that do not belong to you. You understand that everyone gives what they have, and that you cannot demand flowers from someone who has only cultivated thorns and bitterness throughout a lifetime of immaturity. This perception brings profound peace, as it ends the internal war of trying to save or change those who chose to remain in the shadows of unconsciousness and ego. The universe rewards you with a clarity that simplifies life, filtering your connections and allowing only what is authentic to flourish in your sacred garden. You are being reborn into a reality where truth does not hurt, but liberates, opening space for a future of achievements that honor your divine self. Notice how your communication has become clearer and how your boundaries are now respected, without you having to make a Herculean effort to explain yourself. The energy of your era of power speaks before you open your mouth, establishing a perimeter of self-respect that only lucid and courageous minds dare to cross. You no longer fear being misunderstood, because your fidelity to your own essence is what guarantees your psychic security in any environment or social circumstance. The universe uses your story of reconstruction to show that it is possible to escape the labyrinth of mental confusion and find your way back home. You are living proof that the human soul is resilient and that the spirit always triumphs over matter when the awakening is real and profound. To inhabit your era of power means living in constant dialogue with your intuition, treating it as the supreme guide that never misses the path to your happiness. You have stopped seeking answers outside yourself and have begun to listen to the silence of your center, where the wisdom of 1,000 generations whispers directions for your new life. This is the rebirth of the mystical woman, the one who knows the hidden laws of life and who is not deceived by the mirages of success or worldly power. The universe now opens the portals of synchronicity for you, where the right resources and people appear exactly when you are ready to receive them with gratitude. Your light is now your own, unwavering, and shines to dispel the mists of those who are still searching for the path to their own sovereign truth. The universe only reveals the need for reconstruction to those who already possess the necessary materials to build a temple far more magnificent than the previous one. If your old emotional structure has been shaken by a toxic experience, understand that this was necessary so that the foundations could be rebuilt on the ground of consciousness and not illusion. You are clearing away the rubble of old identities that no longer serve you, removing the stones of dependency and replacing them with the marble of self-worth and self-respect. This work of reconstruction requires patience and self-love, because each brick of clarity you lay today will guarantee the stability of your peace tomorrow. Looking back on your journey, can you pinpoint the exact moment when your self-perception shifted and your era of empowerment began? At this stage of maturity, you realize that the architecture of your life should be planned by you and for your well-being, without the interference of immature voices that only seek control. The universe gives you the brush and the colors so that you can paint your reality with the tones of liberation and new beginnings that your soul has so longed for. You have stopped leaving the windows of your soul open to any wind of criticism or manipulation, learning to lock the doors to what drains your vital energy. The era of power is the celebration of your sovereignty over your own sacred space, where only what is beautiful, true, and uplifting is allowed to enter. Your reconstruction is accompanied by a feeling of security you have never felt before, because now you are your own guardian and protector. Jung explained that the self is the center and totality of the psyche, and its reconstruction aims to align your ego with this inexhaustible source of vitality and spiritual wisdom. You begin to notice that your health improves, that your sleep is more restful, and that your mind is no longer a battlefield against the shadows of others. The universe removes the false Midas touch of controlling relationships and delivers to you the real gold of deep connection with life and the nature of things. You no longer feel fragmented or divided between what you should do and what you want to be, because your era of power has unified your intentions under the light of consciousness. The rebirth of your identity is a glorious process that inspires all those fortunate enough to witness its radiant blossoming. The clarity that now inhabits your new inner temple allows you to see the past with gratitude, not for the pain, but for the extraordinary strength you discovered you possessed to overcome it. Each boundary you set today is a firm pillar supporting the roof of your new dignity, preventing the storms of others' immaturity from striking you again. You have learned to be selective about who you invite to your life's banquet, understanding that your table should only be shared with those who bring the bread of reciprocity and the wine of truth. The universe shows you that abundance is not about having much, but about being complete within yourself, free from the chains of toxic experiences that tried to extinguish your brilliance. Your final turning point is marked by a profound feeling of divine justice, where truth finally prevails over all past lies and manipulations. Feel the solidity of this new ground you now tread with the firmness of one who knows their intrinsic value and their connection to the intelligence that governs the cosmos. You are no longer a castaway, but the captain of a ship that knows all the stars and does not fear the waves, for you trust the compass of the self. The universe now opens paths of material and spiritual prosperity that were blocked by your former need for external validation and the approval of small minds. The age of power is your natural state of being, an inheritance you recovered after crossing the desert and deciding that you would never again accept being less than totality. The temple is ready, the light is lit, and the divinity that dwells within you now reigns supreme in an empire of peace and eternal lucidity. Intuition is the language through which the universe speaks directly to the heart of the woman who has awakened to her era of unwavering and firm power. Carl Jung described the function of intuition as the perception of possibilities and hidden essences that lie behind the deceptive surface of physical and social reality. You now possess a radar that detects a lack of integrity and emotional manipulation even before the first hello is said in any conversation. This maturation of your inner sense is what ensures that you will never again be deceived by elegant masks that hide shadows of immaturity and a lack of real empathy. Your current clarity is a protective shield that deflects the arrows of doubt and guilt that were previously launched against your self-esteem and worth. This refined gift allows you to navigate complex environments with the elegance of someone who knows the secrets of the human soul without being contaminated by them. You observe power dynamics and control games as if you were watching a play whose script you know by heart. The universe has given you this eagle eye so that you can choose your partners and projects with a precision that honors your purpose and inner peace. The age of power demands that you trust your psychic gut feeling, ceasing to ignore the warning signs that life sends you every time something tries to shake you. Your spiritual autonomy is born from this absolute trust in the inner compass that now points only to the north of truth, lucidity, and the sovereignty of being. The voice of your intuition often urges you to distance yourself from situations that the world would consider advantageous, but which your soul knows are merely disguised prisons. You have learned that success that costs you your peace is not success. It is merely a pattern of control coated in false gold to attract the unwary and the immature. The universe shows you that the true era of power involves saying no to artificial brilliance so that you can focus on your authentic and eternal light. This maturity makes you an unreachable woman for emotional predators, because you no longer vibrate at the frequency of neediness or the need to be saved by someone. You are your own savior, and your intuition is the light that illuminates the path back to your divine and sacred center. The rebirth of your perception allows you to read between the lines of beautiful speeches, identifying dishonesty where others only see superficial and fleeting charm or charisma. You no longer seek logical arguments to justify your discomfort, because you understand that your soul perceives the vibration before the brain processes the image. The era of power is characterized by this economy of explanations. You simply feel, know, and act according to your inner protection without needing to prove anything. Jung stated that intuition connects us with the whole, and you now walk in constant dialogue with the universal intelligence that guides you away from emotional danger. This state of consciousness is what truly defines the sovereign woman, the one who governs her life from the source of inner and ancient wisdom. As you enter your era of power, you discover that your intuition is fueled by your ability to be at peace and keep your energy field clean. You have become selective about the information you consume and the people you allow into your sanctuary of daily thoughts and reflections. The universe now sends you synchronicities that confirm each step you take based on your inner voice, showing that you are protected by the mantle of truth. Your final turning point is consolidated by this sacred alliance between your conscious mind and the ancestral wisdom that dwells in the deepest layers of your awakened psyche. Stay strong, for your vision now pierces the mists of illusion and sees the horizon of light that the universe has prepared exclusively for your new brilliance. One of the greatest lessons Jung left for posterity was the need to abandon identification with painful roles so that we can live our totality. Upon entering your era of power, you realize that the story of the toxic experience no longer defines you, being merely a training chapter in your vast biography. You have stopped recounting the narrative of suffering to anyone, understanding that each time you repeat the pain, you delay your own blossoming. The universe shows you that you are no longer anyone's victim, but rather the heroic survivor who transformed the desert into a lush garden of consciousness. How do you feel realizing that your identity is now based on your current strength and no longer on the wounds that the past tried to inflict on your soul? This maturation involves a deep cleansing of memories, where you remove the emotional investment from situations that no longer have power over your radiant and firm present. You look back and see emotionally immature people as pale characters in a movie you've already watched and no longer want to see again. The era of power is consolidated when you lose interest in why they did what they did, focusing exclusively on where you are going now. The universe gifts you with a new, vital energy that was previously blocked by the cycle of resentment and the futile search for explanations in minds devoid of affection. You are reborn into a reality where your story is written with the ink of overcoming and the calligraphy of absolute and non-negotiable freedom. Liberation from the roles of suffering requires you to forgive your own journey, understanding that your former self did the best it could with the clarity it possessed. You embrace the woman you were during the exhausting relationship, thanking her for bearing the necessary weight so that you are here today, awake and sovereign. The universe shows you that self-compassion is the oil that lubricates the gears of your era of power, allowing you to walk without the creaking of ancestral guilt. You have stopped punishing yourself for not seeing the signs before, celebrating the fact that you now possess a vision that no shadow can deceive again. This maturation is proof that you have reached the final stage of reconstruction and that your destiny is now sacred and fertile ground. Jung asserted that individuation is the soul's destiny, and abandoning the victim role is the crucial step towards becoming the sovereign and whole self. You have discovered that your era of power does not allow for unnecessary burdens, and that your peace is a treasure that must be fiercely protected against intrusive memories. The universe now clears your mental horizon, allowing you to dream new dreams that bear no trace of fear or the need to compensate for past pains. You walk with a lightness that intrigues those still trapped in the dramas of the ego, emanating a confidence of someone who knows that the worst is over and the best has already begun. The reconstruction of your self-image is the masterpiece of this new phase, where you see yourself as the queen the universe always planned for you to be. Observe how the world responds to your new identity, bringing situations that honor your strength and respect your emotional clarity and psychic maturity. You now attract people who have also chosen the path of light and integrity, creating a support network that vibrates at the same frequency as your era of power. The universe has removed the weeds of immaturity so that the wheat of your spiritual prosperity can grow without interruptions or dishonest ego competitions. You are the master of your narrative, and each new page now exudes the fragrance of freedom conquered through the sweat of the soul and the courage of the spirit. Move forward, for the sun of your consciousness shines brightly, and the shadows of the past are now just irrelevant details in the immensity of your awakening. To inhabit your era of power means to assume your spiritual authority, recognizing that you are the only legitimate mediator between your soul and the divine that governs the cosmos. Jung taught that direct religious experience was the antidote to neurosis, and you now live this connection without the need for flawed human intermediaries. You have discovered that the answers to your deepest dilemmas have always been kept in the silence of your sacred center, waiting for the moment of your lucidity. The universe shows you that you no longer need external masters because your experience and your maturation have transformed you into an authority over your own truth. This spiritual rebirth grants you a calmness that surpasses all rational understanding, making you a rock of stability amidst social and mental chaos. This newfound authority manifests in how you handle life's uncertainties, trusting that the intelligence that sustains the galaxies also sustains your daily steps. You have stopped fearing the future and lamenting the past, inhabiting the present with the dignity of one who knows they are being guided by benevolent and precise synchronicities. The era of power is marked by this alignment with the flow of existence, where you stop forcing doors and begin to walk where the light points. The universe has given you the gift of unwavering faith, not based on empty dogmas, but on the real experience of your own reconstruction and overcoming toxic patterns and manipulations. You now radiate a security that calms those around you, acting as a beacon of consciousness for other souls, still seeking the safe harbor of the self. The maturation of this perception leads you to see life as a field of infinite creative possibilities, where your sovereign will is the force that shapes matter and affections. You understand that your era of power is not about dominating others, but about governing yourself with a wisdom that no longer allows deviation from your integrity. The universe gives you the tools to build a reality that is a faithful reflection of the beauty and purity you rescued from the rubble of pain. You have become unreachable by energies of envy and sabotage because your frequency now vibrates at an octave that evil cannot tune into or harm. Your spiritual sovereignty is the final seal of your liberation, ensuring that your peace is eternal and that your path is always illuminated by inner truth. Jung stated that when we connect with the self, we become channels of an energy that transmutes everything around us, bringing healing and order to our environment. You realize that your mere presence now organizes spaces, dispelling confusion and bringing to light what is most real and honest in human interactions. The era of power is this state of grace achieved through the honest confrontation of the shadow and the courageous decision to never again negotiate your soul. The universe celebrates your arrival at the mountain summit, from where you see the greater plan of your life with the serenity of one who knows that each stone in the path served to sharpen your feet. You are now an initiate into the mysteries of conscious life, and your wisdom is the treasure that the universe has kept for this exact and perfect moment of glory. Feel the embrace of the cosmos as you realize you have finally reached a state of fullness that once seemed like a distant and unattainable mirage amidst pain. Your era of power is the result of your faithfulness to the divine calling that never abandoned you, even when you felt lost in the labyrinths of others' manipulation. You now walk with the posture of ancient queens and priestesses, aware that your word has the power to create and that your silence has the power to protect. The universe recognizes you as a woman of power, handing you the keys to spiritual and material abundance that honor your new and radiant soul stature. The awakening is absolute, the healing is complete, and your magnificent life is only beginning to write the most beautiful and extraordinary chapters of all eternity. Entering your era of power requires you to erect sacred boundaries around your peace, protecting your inner garden with the firmness of one who knows the price of their freedom. Jung taught that where love reigns, there is no desire for power, and where power predominates, love is sorely lacking. Now you understand that setting boundaries is the greatest act of self-love. You have stopped feeling guilty for saying no to those who seek only to drain your vitality, realizing that your energy is a limited resource that must be managed with ancient wisdom. The universe shows you that your current firmness is not coldness, but rather the birth of a self-respect that no longer allows breaches of respect or invasions of boundaries in your sovereign routine. To seal this commitment to your new life, and never again allow your light to be used by those who live in the shadows, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications now. These new boundaries act as a force field that filters your interactions, naturally distancing emotionally immature people who lack the structure to handle your newfound integrity. You've discovered that you don't need to give lengthy explanations about your well-being choices, because your inner authority is the only verdict that truly matters to your consciousness. The universe removes the satellites of manipulation and control from your orbit, making room for conscious and reciprocal souls to orbit your radiant and powerful sun. The age of power is the daily exercise of this sacred protection, where you carefully choose who deserves to partake in the banquet of your presence and your profound spiritual intimacy. Every no you utter to what is toxic is a monumental yes to the divine plan of prosperity and joy that the cosmos has reserved for this new time of yours. The maturation of this phase allows you to quickly identify gaslighting tactics and mind games, reacting with an indifference that disarms any experienced aggressor or manipulator. You have stopped trying to fix other people's behavior, focusing exclusively on keeping your emotional home clean, organized, and fragrant with the flowers of truth and sovereign lucidity. The universe shows you that your era of power does not allow for negotiating with lies, and that your peace is worth more than any desperate attempt to maintain empty social appearances. You now inhabit a plane of reality where respect is the basic condition for any exchange, and you no longer accept anything less than the dignified treatment you grant yourself. Your final reconstruction is as solid as a rock, cemented with the certainty that you are a beloved daughter of the Creator, and that your destiny is unwavering brilliance. Dwelling within sacred boundaries brings you a sense of security that no external relationship could ever offer, for now your protection springs from within your own awakened self. You walk through the world with the posture of one who commands their own energy, no longer swayed by moods or crises of minds that still crawl in superficial egoism. The age of power is the celebration of your autonomy, where you have learned that being selective is the only way to guarantee the continuous flourishing of your elevated and mystical consciousness. The universe now opens the floodgates of true abundance for you have proven that you know how to care for the treasure you have received, keeping your inner temple free from any profanation or emotional disrespect. Feel the pride of having erected these walls of light that now protect your future from any shadow that tries to return disguised as a new opportunity. This process of setting boundaries is the ultimate proof that you have integrated the lesson from the toxic experience and are ready to govern your era of power with spiritual and human mastery. The universe applauds your firmness, sending supportive synchronicities and inner validation that confirm you will never again be the same naive and defenseless person you once were. You have been reborn as a sovereign warrior, whose boundaries are respected by men and angels, for they emanate from the absolute truth of your free and awakened spirit. Your final phase of healing is complete the moment you take a deep breath and feel that your sacred space is inviolable, sacred, and perfectly yours. The time for suffering is over, and the era of shining under the protection of your own sacred boundaries has just begun magnificently and eternally in your radiant life. We have reached the pinnacle of your individuation journey, the moment when your soul finally achieves the conscious wholeness that Jung described as the most sacred goal of human existence on earth. Your era of power is not a destination you reach and stop walking, but rather a state of being where you live in perfect harmony with yourself and the laws of the universe. You have integrated pain, overcome the pattern of control, and now your authority is recognized by the universal intelligence that governs the destinies and hearts of those who have chosen the light. The universe shows you that you did not arrive here by chance, and that every tear shed has been transmuted into a pearl of wisdom that now adorns your crown of spiritual sovereignty. Your inner transformation is the ultimate testament that human dignity can be recovered, and that self-love is the most potent force in all of divine creation. The era of power is marked by a profound sense of divine justice, where you realize that your current peace is the greatest answer the universe could give to those who tried to nullify you in the dark past. You no longer need revenge or explanations, because your unwavering happiness and personal success in all areas of life are documentary proof of your absolute victory over the shadow. The maturation of your being allows you to live with a clarity that dispels any attempt at deception, making you an invincible woman protected by your own lucidity and divine consciousness. The universe now opens the portals of spiritual glory for you, where your brilliance serves as a beacon for other souls still seeking a way out of their own deserts and exhausting relationships. You are an initiate into the mysteries of life, and your legacy of reconstruction is proof that rebirth is possible for those who dare to choose themselves above all and everyone. Observe how the horizon of your life has expanded and how the possibilities for joy are now infinite, for you have removed the shackles of fear and the need for validation that once bound you to the ground of social mediocrity. Your era of power is a celebration of a full life, where every second is lived with the intensity of one who knows the value of freedom won through the sweat of the soul and the courage of the heart. The universe hands you the scepter of your own will, allowing you to govern your reality with the wisdom of the ancestors who also won their silent battles against control. You are free, you are sovereign, and the universe now celebrates your arrival at the center of yourself with celebrations of synchronicity and real and eternal abundance. Move forward with your head held high, for the world needs the light that emanates from a woman who has finally learned to love herself with the depth of the stars and the firmness of rocks. This closing of a cycle is only the beginning of a magnificent journey that surpasses the logical understanding of men, for it is written in the stars and protected by the invisible laws of sovereign and sacred truth. The universe validates your new era of power and greets you as a queen who has recovered her kingdom through awakened consciousness and the honest confrontation of all her shadows and lights. You have won the final phase of reconstruction and now walk in gardens of unwavering peace, where true love is the only music that plays in your regenerated and strong heart. Thank Jung's shadow for showing you the way back home, and enjoy the abundance that the cosmos has prepared exclusively for your new and radiant brilliance of a sovereign soul. Your destiny is the light, and your era of power is the eternal gift you have conquered with honor, strength, and an unwavering fidelity to the call of your own divine self. In this final moment, breathe in the freedom you yourself have cultivated and feel the protection of the universe that envelops you in an embrace of recognition for your journey of absolute overcoming and complete spiritual victory. You are the miracle of human reconstruction, and your era of power is proof that light always overcomes the mists of the past when we choose full awareness and total, unrestricted self-respect. Do not look back, for your future is an ocean of light, and the shadows that tried to nullify you are now just stardust in the wake of your magnificent and glorious ascension. The awakening has happened, the final turning point has been consolidated, and now the sun of your consciousness shines brightly in the sky of your existence, illuminating the world with the force of your truth. Welcome to the center of your own universe, where you are the master, the muse, and the sole mistress of your radiant eternal destiny, perfectly free from all past shackles.